Russia and Ukraine are establishing their own terms for a potential peace deal. As the fighting on the ground intensifies, new statements from Moscow, sharp divisions in Washington, and persisting silence from U.S. President Donald Trump. All these are now contributing to the uncertainty surrounding any peace agreement. Russia says it swapped prisoners of war with Ukraine today in an exchange that was agreed on at talks in Istanbul last week. U.S. President Donald Trump has even raised the possibility of bigger things in the offing. But what is he talking about? Just yesterday, Putin announced the creation of a security buffer zone along the border with Ukraine.
As I said earlier, the decision to create a necessary buffer security zone along borders with Ukraine had been already made. Our armed forces are accomplishing this task now. Enemy firing points are being suppressed. The work is proceeding.
Well, the timing is key. This announcement comes just after Putin visited the frontline Kursk region, and after he held a high-stakes phone call, a 2-hour phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump. On paper, that call focused on the future of peace in Ukraine. But on the ground, the signals were starkly different. Putin says Russia is now ready to begin restoration work, which includes demining and rebuilding war-scarred border towns in Kursk, Belgorod and Bryansk. Remember, Russia claimed to have regained full control of the Kursk region in late April. That's after months of fierce combat against Ukrainian forces. And also being supported by North Korean troops sent under a mutual defense pact between Russia and North Korea. This week, Putin visited troops in the region for the first time since that reclamation. While details on the buffer zone are little, Putin has floated this idea before. Now, it signals that for the Kremlin, this may be the only way to secure the border from more Ukrainian strikes. In recent months, Ukraine has intensified cross-border attacks, including strikes in Belgorod and other Russian border towns. On the diplomatic front, meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov confirmed that there would be a second round of talks with Ukraine. That's when Moscow would hand a memorandum to the Ukrainian side. But once again, Moscow questioned the legitimacy of Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. That's in signing a peace deal. In saying so, the Russian foreign minister repeated Moscow's claim that Zelensky was not a legitimate leader of Ukraine and has suggested new elections before a potential future peace agreement is signed. Earlier, Putin thanked Trump for supporting a renewed push for peace talks, which for the first time since 2022 resumed last week in Turkey. But despite the optimism from Kremlin, a Wall Street Journal report claims that Trump told European leaders that he believes that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has no intention of ending the war, a claim which Moscow has strongly denied. Kyiv, too, is not buying it. Ukraine's foreign ministry condemned the buffer zone announcement as aggressive and a direct barrier to peace. They said that any buffer zone should be created inside Russia and not Ukraine. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the bloodshed continues. On Thursday, 12 civilians, including 2 children, were reportedly injured in a Ukrainian strike on the Russian town of Lvov. On Friday, Russia claimed to have captured fresh territory in Donetsk, destroying multiple Ukrainian military targets, including U.S.-supplied Patriot air defense systems. Now, between Tuesday night and Thursday morning, Moscow says it shot down nearly 500 Ukrainian drones, 120 in the Kursk region alone. Ukraine, too, claims to have beaten back multiple Russian offensives and also struck military industrial sites in Moscow and Tula with drones. So as Putin moves to fortify his hold on retaken regions and floats just how deep this buffer zone should go, we can't help but wonder, Is this a path to peace or a new phase of the war? Military experts say Putin's moves may be designed to pressure Kyiv or perhaps test the West's resolve. Either way, what we know is this: the fight is far from over. Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin was a controversial figure in his own right. And he has now returned to Moscow once again, this time in the metro line. Basically, a monument to Stalin has been unveiled at the Ganskaya station in the Moscow metro, a move that has split Russians. Our next report telling you more.
You know, the people who forget their past have no future.
Moscow clearly hasn't moved over Joseph Stalin, the influential Soviet dictator who has now made an unusual comeback in form of a monument, a life-size wall sculpture, if you will, which is turning heads at the central Taganskaya station. The statue depicting Stalin standing on Moscow's Red Square, surrounded by a crowd of Soviet citizens looking at him in supreme awe and admiration. It's almost as if history is being rewritten, but with a twist. The statue being a recreation of a monument, unveiled in the same station in 1950, just years before Stalin passed away. To some, Stalin remains a national hero, a man of steel who helped overturn Nazism, while to the others, he remains a controversial figure in the post-Soviet era.
A person should be judged not by his words, but by his deeds. That is why what he did for the country, a great victory, means a lot. That is why I think they did the right thing by installing.
It seems to me that this was some kind of quick order that needed to be implemented in the shortest possible time. In my opinion, such an order usually takes several months. From the beginning, from the idea, from how they agreed with the contractors, found these contractors, then agreed on some kind of sketch, agreed on the initial version.
Several Stalin monuments have been erected in several places, but perhaps none in the heart of Moscow, bearing a message of its own kind. However, according to Moscow Metro, it is simply a gift to the passengers, marking the 90th anniversary of its sprawling, ornate, and efficient transport system, also considered one of the most beautiful in the entire world.
It seems to me, by the way, that this will not be the only monument to Stalin. They will definitely unveil more. And this is right. You know, the people who forget their past have no future.
Many opine like there are two sides to a coin. History, too, must be open to interpretation, letting people decide for themselves what they choose to accept or decline. Bureau Report, WION.
Imagine seeing the invisible. Well, now it looks like a possibility. Chinese scientists claim to have manufactured a kind of contact lenses that perhaps allows humans to perceive infrared light, a spectrum that is usually reserved for snakes, bats and sci-fi. And unlike night vision goggles, these lenses perhaps need no battery. According to reports, neuroscientists at the University of Science and Technology of China are positive that with the success of these lenses, they have perhaps paved the way for a range of contact lenses, glasses and other wearable devices that give people supervision. Infrared makes up more than half of the sun's radiation, yet it lies just beyond human vision. But now, by using cutting-edge nanotechnology, scientists have found a way to bring it into view. At the heart of this breakthrough, it is called what is being called upconversion nanoparticles, or microscopic materials that absorb infrared and emit visible light in red, green or blue. The result? Contact lenses that reveal infrared signals alongside the visible world. This opens the door to wearable supervision, not just for seeing the invisible, but potentially helping those with color blindness too. In early test, volunteers wearing the lens could read infrared Morse code and detect the direction of invisible light beams as well. Now, while some animals involved to see ultraviolet or thermal radiation, humans may now enhance their own abilities with science. No surgery required. While these lenses don't yet provide any kind of thermal vision, scientists say future versions could. For now, it looks like these lenses are a glimpse of what's coming, not just enhanced vision, but possibly a new way to experience the world around us.